It's summertime, and you know what that means. It's sequel season!
Bingo!
Unfortunately, by the end of this video, you're going to hate sequels. Not because I'm cynical, but because once you see the pattern, you won't be able to unsee it. So, let's find out the real reason that 99% of sequels suck, and what the 1% that don't actually managed to do right. Actually executed correctly, actually pulled off successfully, actually accomplished exactingly. See, saying the same thing but with a tiny tweak doesn't make it any better. Quick disclaimer. When I say sequel, I do not necessarily mean movies that were conceived with multiple films in mind from the beginning. Cinematic universes, trilogies that were set up to be trilogies from the start, etc. This video is specifically for movies that had a gambling problem. The films that won big at the box office should have walked away, but kept going back to the table. The ones that said, we're done, but then weren't. We're here because we love you, Jurassic Park, but you have a problem. If your movie was always planning to be a franchise, you're off the hook. I guess. You're in a committed relationship. But if you were a beautiful standalone film that got drunk on success and made some bad decisions, we need to talk.
We f***ed up.
The real reason that 99% of sequels suck is buried deep beneath the film's flashy special effects, the beautiful people on screen, and the transcendent soundtracks that make us feel all the things. The real reason has to do with something called the hero's journey. So, before we go destroying your childhood, let's quickly discuss narrative story structure.
Pencils ready.
We're going to demystify the classic Hollywood movie shape featuring one of my all-time favorite things, cereal. The ordinary world. This is the initial setting where the protagonist's life is established before the adventure begins. It's important for the audience to know where your hero is coming from in order to appreciate where they will eventually go. The call to adventure, aka the inciting incident, aka the catalyst. This is a specific event or situation that forces the protagonist to leave their ordinary world and embark on a quest. Next time you're forced to watch a movie you don't like, pay close attention. I bet you the call to adventure either happens too late, too gently, or maybe even not at all. The refusal of the call. Often, the hero will initially hesitate or downright refuse the call due to fear or doubt. This fear or doubt will make them want to just get back to their ordinary world above all else. But if the call to adventure was strong enough, they won't be able to. Meeting the mentor. A mentor figure will then often appear to guide and prepare the protagonist for the journey. Crossing the threshold. This is where the protagonist fully commits to the adventure and leaves the familiar world behind. Disney and Pixar writers have described this as the feeling of a plane taking off, which I've always liked. Tests, allies, and enemies, aka fun and games. The protagonist must navigate a series of tests, trials, and challenges, often with the help of allies and the opposition of enemies. This is the majority of Act 2, which makes it the bulk of the actual story. Ordeal, death, and rebirth. Okay, we're flying through this now, but this will typically be your hero's darkest moment and greatest challenge so far. Third act twist. Please note, this does not need to be an M. Night Shyamalan level twist.
I see dead people.
This is simply a plot device in the final act that significantly alters the direction or outcome of the story. Road back and climax. The protagonist initiates their final plan and the most intense and dramatic moment of the story plays out.
Dada, you wanna play with me? Party, Dada.
And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy.
Return with Elixir, aka the New World. This is when we see our hero back in their ordinary world, except now they have changed fully. We might see some final thematic image here too. And that is every movie you've ever seen. Normal person, faces problem, resists solving it, realizes there's no going back, overcomes obstacles, achieves goal, returns changed. I started as a guy who just wanted cereal, and I ended as a guy who earned his cereal. It's complete. Beginning, middle, end. Perfect. I am now a fully actualized Rice Krispies eater.
And the Oscar goes
The typical reason that you like a movie is because it skillfully hits all these beats. The hero has been transformed from a place of total ignorance of their shortcomings to embodiment of their true, authentic self through action. In other words, through the trials and tribulations learned through the story, they become the best version of themselves. And again, I say, the end. Are you seeing the cruel irony here? Movies that make a ton of money usually have one thing in common. They nailed, or came close to nailing, the hero's journey. Near perfect character arcs, complete transformation, great setups, satisfying payoffs, which means there shouldn't be anywhere else to go. It's a perfect circle. So, what do you think? It's beautiful, but can you make it more circle? It's already a perfect circle, sir. What if it was a bigger circle? It's still a circle. Exactly, Circle 2, coming summer, 2026. You see, the movies most likely to get a sequel made are the ones that fundamentally lend themselves the least to a sequel.
It's all backwards.
They had a great hero's journey. Now just leave it alone. Or don't, because
Money. I need more money.
Sir, with all due respect, multiple people were eaten by dinosaurs, and several others were inches away from being eaten, including 2 young children. Yeah? What's your point? Well, sir, I think not only would these people be in therapy for the rest of their lives, but anyone who would go back to the island would not be someone that an audience would care about, let alone root for, because, well, you know, they'd have to be really, really stupid. Yeah? What's your point? Nothing. I don't have one. I'll go call Goldblum's agent. This brings us to the 2 genres that suffer the most from this curse: comedy and horror. Not only do these 2 genres rely on a great hero's journey, like any story, but they rely on something else: spontaneous human reaction in the moment. That's what laughing and screaming in terror are. Comedy is like a magic trick. Once you know the punchline, it very quickly becomes unfunny. I don't even really like watching a good comedy a second time for this reason. But don't forget, even silly comedies that work because they had some solid hero's journey in there somewhere. I could argue Wedding Crashers was as popular as it was, not just because of the chemistry between Wilson and McAdams, not just because of the hilarious side characters and funny scenarios. Lots of totally mediocre comedies have all that too, but because of the cute little hero's journey that Owen Wilson's character goes on. God help us. The issue with horror sequels looks very similar. You're fighting for your life during the first movie and then playing spot the jump scare during the second. Also, really, really dumb characters. Remember the haunted house where everyone died? Yeah, traumatizing. You want to go back? Obviously. And now we're rooting for the bad guy. Or this, 2 years after a bunch of people died from intense supernatural events. I saw a ghost. We don't believe you, and we won't, until more dead bodies start turning up. Sequels that don't suck do 2 things. Side story expansion. They don't make the hero from the first movie do it all again, they explore someone else's story. This is actually probably the best way to do it. The first movie had some interesting side characters, right? And the audience has shown already that they enjoy the world that was created. So let's take a secondary or tertiary character from the first movie and give them their own hero's journey. God, it sounds so easy when you say it out loud. But be careful. Doing this too much can result in the same horrible art business feedback loop as before, where audiences will just eventually get sick of the world and sick of the stakes in that world. MCU. The second thing a good sequel might do is realistic progression. The character growth makes sense. This is rare. Actually, again, I say a circle is already a circle, but if the filmmaker can find realistically higher stakes and a new lesson for our hero to learn, this can actually work. I'd argue that actually regression is the better play here, which is why prequels have taken off in the last couple decades. And I'll say it, I'll admit it, I really like prequels, but of course, depending on where the first movie starts, there might not actually be any room for a prequel, and forcing room where there isn't any room is also a really good recipe for a horrible movie.
I thought we handled that pretty well. These are really cold, huh? That's why you gotta drink them fast, Terry, trust me.
So here's my plea to you, the moviegoer. Hi, I'm asking you to adopt a sequel. For only $200 million, you can help unnecessary sequels from being made. Your donation goes directly to pay writers to create original stories instead. We, as a movie-going audience, must start supporting original ideas more. When Jordan Peele comes out with a new movie, I go see it. I just do. I might not always love it, but what I do love is the boldness associated with trying something novel. The Toy Story series is great. Lord of the Rings is great. The Godfather 2 also won an Oscar for Best Picture along with the first one. But for every well-intentioned sequel, we get about 40 that are just trashy money grabs. So let's stop incentivizing, rehashing, and remaking, and redoing. And let's start demanding more original ideas from the big movie studios. Let Jeff Goldblum just go to therapy. Let the guys from The Hangover just have a movie night with their wives for once. Let the Jigsaw Killer just find a damn hobby. And in a world that should still be reeling from some insane supernatural event, when someone new says they've seen a ghost, let's all just believe them.
Was never father married?
No. He's mine. He's chosen me.
Dum 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 dum.